Watch this.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy.
However, several of those executive orders have caused chaos of their own, with at least one Idahoan overseas with a misgendered passport and a dad hoping to fix it.
I have no idea if she's going to be able to travel to the States.
The hope of a decent snowpack and a mild wildfire season has melted away. We have the outlook on what this summer and fall might bring and how federal cuts could cut into how it's handled. Keeping ag land in the hands of worthy stewards, that's one family's goal after making the decision to sell their lavender farm.
Under the Trump administration, it will be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Doesn't sound too complicated, does it?
Except nothing is ever really that simple, is it? Especially when it comes to genders and how many there are. There's ideology and then there's science. And then there's the legal side of things, caught in the middle of all that. On day one of his current term, President Donald Trump signed 26 executive orders. One of them was Executive Order number 14168, which directed the State Department to require all government-issued IDs, including passports, to reflect a person's gender assigned at birth. That overturned a previous policy which allowed anyone to choose the sex designation on their passport, whether it be male, female, or X for unspecified. Within 24 hours of that order, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, passport applications submitted by transgender, intersex, and non-binary people were being held or rejected or returned with an incorrect sex marker. A federal court ruling yesterday put a temporary stop to that based on an ACLU lawsuit. We're going to have more on that in a moment. However, one of those on the receiving end of a mismarked passport is a 31-year-old Idahoan. Cassidy Robertson grew up in Boise, graduated from the University of Idaho, and has been living in Austria for the past 9 years, working as an English teaching assistant. But when her dad learned about this credential miscue, he wasn't about to let her handle it alone.
I think it was fine, everything that I heard.
Distance.
When we talked, it was fine.
Can help give perspective.
As things were happening, I'm sure.
For Mark Robertson, his daughter's coming of age.
Are you gay? Are you this? Are you that? Or whatever else. And she had to figure that out.
Was more about coming into her own.
And I think just she was trying to figure herself out at that time. We as parents were trying to give her the opportunities, be objective as we could be about things. And just kind of let it unfold. But we were fairly ignorant.
Cassidy Robertson recognized who she was when puberty hit.
In my particular case, I realized that there's just some part of me that did not feel aligned with the changes that were occurring in my body.
It would take a few years, but for Cassidy, it wasn't really a transition.
I think it was less a matter of this is who I am, and more just realizing this is, who I already was. So more a process of expressing myself in ways that felt more natural to myself than a matter of reinventing myself or discovering a new me.
That expression took hold in college.
At U of I think that's when she knew this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I want to be.
And for her family, there was also an adjustment.
It was difficult with the name change. It was difficult with pronouns.
A process Mark believed was being mirrored in society until it wasn't.
I think there was a gradual movement toward acceptance. Same way with, being black in the 60s or 50s, being gay in the 80s and 90s. I think there was that gradual move. I think we took a tumble in the last few years.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies. Ooh.
So when President Trump took office in January and he made that executive order on day one proclaiming two genders.
Yep.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
How'd that hit you?
Immediately there was a worry.
Worry? Because where are you in Austria? Distance.
I'm in Graz currently, the capital of Styria.
Can also make things difficult. You see, Cassidy's passport was expiring in May, So she applied for a renewal in April. So when you got your passport back and you looked at it, what did you see and what did you think?
I saw an M and I thought, well, dang it. They did it. They really did it. The nerve.
But that had to bother you a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, on the one hand, there's all of the potential, like, logistical, legal, and like all of those issues that it can bring up. But also just on a personal level, it just feels, discrimination just doesn't feel good. I have not necessarily been singled out, but I belong to a group that has been singled out to be the object of just cruelty. Like, this is a cruel act designed to push people like me out of public spaces to essentially make living in society just that little bit harder.
Okay, so like coming home, how's that going to work?
I mean, that's the question. Now, I have a passport that identifies me as male, which doesn't match my appearance.
And it doesn't match any of Cassidy's other documents. Her Idaho driver's license, her Colorado birth certificate, even her old passport, all identify her as female.
And that's certainly a thing where border control agents, they check pretty closely. I've already, like, traveling with a female passport, been pulled aside several times after the body scans.
It already sounds like it's pretty invasive and a little bit awkward. This just seems like it's going to make it worse.
That's probably how it's gonna go down. I want to be able to visit my friends and family. I want to be able to go to the country where I am a citizen without fearing repercussion.
Her dad?
These are life-altering decisions that she's made, she's been brave enough to make.
Calls it?
And now someone else
Bully tactics.
Is changing that for her without her consent. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's right.
He even wrote a letter.
So it starts off, my name is Mark Robertson, a constituent in your 2nd District of Idaho.
Hoping Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson might be able to do something about it.
This miscarriage of justice does not make the USA a better, safer, or more compassionate nation, and is a far cry from where we as a country need to be.
Because even from a distance, Mark hopes he can help his daughter.
And frankly,
like she helped her dad.
She led the way. She taught us about differences.
All those years ago.
That's why it's important to me. This is her life, and she should be able to smile and live it every single day. And these rules, this ideology, this thought is preventing her from doing that. And as a parent, it just crushes me.
Cassidy told us it's an unfortunate truth. Trans people are already extremely marginalized and end up being the object of harassment and discrimination. This just adds to that. As for Mark, her dad, this is a plea of a parent. His goal is to make Cassidy's story real for people, that not everything has to be about politics or culture wars. Okay, so now the good news. Back in February, the ACLU filed a lawsuit over this executive order. And late yesterday, a federal judge in Massachusetts certified Orr versus Trump as a class action, meaning it will proceed representing everyone in that class, not just those named in the lawsuit. And in doing so, it extended the preliminary injunction issued back in April, applying it to any transgender, intersex, or non-binary person applying for a passport, which means the State Department is now ordered to provide new passports with the sex designation as requested. But as the ACLU told us today, they don't want transgender people to immediately just apply for a passport like today. They're trying to work out with the federal government what will be required to show they are included in this preliminary injunction, and they hope to have it figured out within a week. So their advice, sit tight to avoid any confusion.
When they present a passport that is consistent with the way they're presenting themselves, they risk being accused of passport fraud. They risk being detained, searched, but at a minimum, it exposes them to the possibility of discrimination, harassment, and even violence. So it's quite a serious matter.
Okay, so for our Cassidy, who's in Austria, If she wants to travel to America, say in the next few weeks or so, what can she do?
Well, so again, we're hoping to get this clarified, within a week at the outside. If the government does not give us a quick answer, we will go to the court to ask the court to tell them what they need to do. Then there should be something that she can check and submit to request a new passport with the sex designation that she wants.
John says to keep checking the ACLU website for updates. But if timing is an issue, you're told to go to a consulate or a passport office. Yesterday's decision does not settle this issue, by the way. It's still an active lawsuit that has to work its way through the courts. It's just a preliminary injunction, not a temporary one, but a preliminary injunction. And the federal government has already appealed that preliminary injunction. One transgender lawsuit that did come to a conclusion this morning, though, has to do with gender-affirming care for minors. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban on hormone treatments and puberty blockers for trans kids, which means Idaho's similar law, which went into effect last year, is also fully enforceable. That decision coincides with the dismissal of the lawsuit filed against Idaho's law, that'd be Poe versus Labrador, as announced today by the Attorney General's office. Well, other federal actions impacting Idahoans have to do with the upcoming wildfire season. It will be a balancing act between conditions and resources, which it usually is. But with the recent cuts this season and the restructuring, that thumb is firmly on one side. Another Idaho's top elected officials got the big wildfire season outlook today as a part of a land board meeting, and there are concerns about the wildfires there. So Idaho's elected leaders did get a peek at the season. Joe Paris, the question is, which one seems to be the tougher challenge right now?
It's going to be a wait and see, but in terms of predictions right now, Brian, there are really concerns about the conditions across Idaho. That's the main concern. There was some optimism earlier this year with some good snowpack, but that melted away quickly during the spring because of warm and dry conditions. Here's the hope from Jim Wallman from the National Interagency Fire Center.
We're hopeful we have an anomaly like 2023 where we had that wet August, in the middle of August, that wet period across much of the state. That could drastically change this outlook, but right now things are not looking good and it looks to have an active season.
Holdover grasses from last year are also a concern and could push an active fire season through September. Wildfire fuels aren't the only focus this year, though. In terms of firefighters on the ground, staffing is comparable to last year, but fire managers expect less bench strength than in the past. The gaps from federal cuts to support staff will be a new challenge, too.
While these are all concerning and we don't know exactly what those gaps are until they're going to be upon us this season, we will continue to communicate and coordinate with our partners to ensure that we're leveraging the limited resources that are available for the best use and keeping the firefighters as safe and supported as possible.
So that's tough. You don't know the problem until you see it, and communication is going to be key because of that. And a lot like getting the word out about human-caused fires, lightning fires will happen, but people should know that they should be on the hook financially for starting a major fire.
That word gets around, and neighbors know that their neighbor just had to turn over $1 million claim to their insurance or otherwise. So we do everything that we possibly can to educate and do the prevention side of it before we get there. But the big stick is really the last tool that we have in the bag. We will take people to court for their errant mistakes,
which could cost millions of dollars. Already, by the way, this spring, there's been at least 89 fires reported, 303 acres burned. 36 of those have been confirmed as human-caused. 46 fires still under investigations. And Brian, already this season, 7 fires from lightning. Shows you just how dry it is already here at the beginning of June.
And more storms coming in this weekend, or this week into this weekend. So we'll see how it goes. All right.
Saturday, first alert weather.
Thanks, Joe. A popular agritourism destination in southwestern Idaho will soon be changing hands. Possibly. The family behind Vista Farms lavender operation is putting their property up for sale. They say they're taking a step back, want to focus more on family. But as Aspen Shumpert found out, they have a certain idea of who they do want to take over.
Hi, how are you?
Several years ago, the Tim family wanted to escape the city for a property with a little more land.
Just kind of thought at one point, you know, we're really reliant on the grocery store for everything, and we've outsourced that responsibility of growing our own food and knowing where it comes from. And so we thought we would just kind of endeavor to do that in addition to our full-time careers.
Eventually opening up their homestead in Kuna to the community.
We have done beef shares, pork shares, we have chicken eggs.
But a certain sweet-scented crop was never part of the plan.
We bought about 2,500 lavender plants. We had never grown a lavender before in our lives, so it was really a leap of faith for us.
Revealing the Tims had a green thumb.
It was a lot of upfront work in preparing the land, getting all of our irrigation set up. We hand dug the holes and planted all of the lavender in the fields.
Now, with 52 rows of established lavender, it's what they're known for and sell.
It was not our plan, but it was our purpose, is really how we describe it. You just want to cut under the first set of leaves, but before the second set, so just not into the base of the plant.
Okay. The farm offers 7 different types of lavender for you to come cut and make a bouquet, or take home and use it for something else.
Like you think you have enough, and then you're like, oh, just a few more. And now I have a bouquet.
But after the Tim's first daughter arrived last year, priorities shifted.
I would say my definition of slow is probably not most other people's definition of slow, or the average definition of slow. We were navigating parenthood while also opening up our farm to hundreds of people.
Last year, they decided to scale back on providing animal products to the public and focus on their flowers.
Hearing the birds, hearing the bees, and visually, and it's just really beautiful experience.
Now in 2025, they've decided to scale back further, putting the entire property up for sale as their family grows.
And we really want to be a little bit more focused on family and kind of spread ourselves a little bit too thin.
Tim says a hard place to leave after building it out entirely.
It was a really tough decision for us because we absolutely love being lavender farmers. The lavender farm has definitely been my identity for a long time. I'd love to tell people that we have it. But I think there's different seasons in your life, and this has been a wonderful season for us.
Last year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture reported that from 2017 to 2022, Idaho lost nearly 145,000 acres of farmland, which is why the Tims are acting as their own realtors, looking for someone to keep the farm and its legacy going forward.
It's really a turnkey farm business ready to go, and so it would just be wonderful to see it continue, to have it open to the community.
And hopefully a place they can come back to visit too.
Did you come to cut some lavender? Awesome.
Today was the first day of their season for their You Pick events. There's still a few weeks of that, but their Lavender Festival with events and vendors and lavender treats will be next weekend. This is the second year they've done that. They said it's really been a hit. We'll have more on our website about how you can find them in the last few weeks of the season, but also the last few weeks with the Tim family.
Okay, yeah, so times are changing.
Yeah.
But they hope to maybe not change everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aspen. been in custody for 2.5 years already, and the defense team for the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students says they still need more time. Will they get it? Hunter Funk has that answer and more in today's 411.
The judge overseeing Brian Koberger's upcoming trial says it will likely not be delayed. Today, Judge Stephen Hippler heard arguments over whether or not Koberger's quadruple murder trial should be pushed back.
But as of now, I would tell you that it's likely you're going to trial on the date indicated.
We're waiting on Judge Hippler to issue an official order, which he says will come in short order. Today, Senator Jim Risch joined President Donald Trump in the raising of an American flag on a new pole at the White House. It happened on the South Lawn, and it's one of 2 flagpoles added to the White House landscape. The Wassmuth Center is expanding once again. The nonprofit, which focuses on human rights, announced today the addition of the Do Good Plaza. It's a community space dedicated to young changemakers who aim to do good. The plaza will be a new link from 9th Street to the Greenbelt. No word yet on when it's scheduled to open. In October, the nonprofit opened its new education center. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Hunter Funk.
I have several comments today about the Idahoan in Austria, transgender woman who has had her passport changed to reflect that she's male, not female. A lot of you said something along these lines here. The restriction of movement is one of the most repressive actions any government can implement, period. That's Daisy Rain Martin, who's a proud ally of trans kids everywhere. Meanwhile, Kim says passports are designated by your birth certificate. If we all said we want to identify as such and such, then it'd be easy for someone to disguise themselves to get into the country. I don't know the answer to that person's dilemma. Meanwhile, this is Ryan in either Coeur d'Alene or Meridian who says, if I'm able to change my gender on a passport or driver's license, shouldn't I be able to change my place of birth or anything else? If I want my address to be Coeur d'Alene instead of Meridian, can I do that? You can change several things on a birth certificate. Your name, of course, but it depends on where you live. The states have different rules, but you can change your name. Court order adoptions happen all the time. And gender, that's allowed, thanks to lawsuits and laws that show that. You can change that. Cassidy's father is an example of how all parents should love and accept their children for who they are. Along these lines from CLC and Meridian, the Bible says, well, we're made in God's image. Who's to say that image isn't Cassidy? Luckily, she has a marvelous father. We appreciate both of them spending some time and telling us their story about this predicament that they're in right now. And hopefully there'll be a quick remedy to this. But as I said, we have to wait and see what the ACLU can work out with the federal government. Hopefully Cassidy is fine in Austria for the time being, and hope to see her back here in Boise sometime soon. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.